How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with Jared Thurmon. He's a close friend, mentor, brother, guy I've known for quite a few years since back in college. I want to say 2013. So, 12 years now, going on 13 years. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is a family man. He is, like I said, has been a mentor. I've worked with him on several different projects in the past, with him being my boss and friend and confidant. Today, we talk about his life. We talk about religion. We talk about a lot of different things, and he's just a super deep, awesome thinker. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode with Jared Thurmon. Also, really quick, before we start the show, just want to say, if you have not signed up for the newsletter, make sure to do that. Check out the show notes in the description if you want to support the pod by taking the time to check out the socks that we are selling. That would really help to continue to push it there. It is not free to do these things, but it really does help continue to grow. And if you are listening anywhere where you can like, comment, subscribe, or leave a review, whether on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that really helps. So thank you guys so much again for letting me say this at the beginning. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Jared Thurmon. Where are you at right now? I mean, I know this.
In my office.
People don't know. Yeah. But you.
No, I'm in where am I at? I'm in Adairsville, Georgia.
Yeah. And this is not just any old office. This is a barn dominium turned office space, hot, cold tub.
Yeah,
sauna.
right back there. Back there. I got the hot and cold going on.
Yeah. How was that building experience? I know you've had a lot of experience building in the past, but tell me, what was it like as you were making that thing?
I think we had Ava, our little girl who's now 6, and I realized taking calls as she starts to run around may not work like I'd hope. Yeah. So I went up here to the barn and I'm like, what if we took this section, which was just dirt floor, and put it in a slab and made it an office? Now I love it. It's like great. It's a good disconnect too, because it's like when I leave my office for the first time in my life, I can feel like I work in here and I play at home. So it's been nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I've talked to a number of people, and obviously I've quote unquote worked from home. But one of the things that people have struggled with most with working with home is like how to actually disconnect. And even me working from quote unquote home, I often find myself going to like a coffee shop or some other place just to be able to get the headspace that's disconnected from what's going on here. And if it's not spick and span, I can't even focus. So definitely makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I see huge value in it now that I didn't before. It was like, oh, I'm working on the couch on my laptop. I'm in the kitchen. And then it's like, yeah, your home is kind of just blends in your brain. I think there's something about spaces in your brain that play a difference.
Yeah, spaces in your brain that to coincide with the spaces in physical reality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jared, Mr. Thurmon, I don't know your middle name. What is it?
Andrew. Yeah, I guess with you, I'm like, you're going to ask me anything and I'm going to say the answer. So let's do this.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Jared, I've known him for a very long time. So this is a cool opportunity of an interview for me, because I haven't really interviewed that I can think of people who I have known on a deeper interpersonal level, and more so who had known me. So this is a exciting thing. So I want to say this and preface it. If ever you have a question that you want to interrupt or, I don't know, fight back on or something, feel free to shoot it back at me and we'll just take it as it comes.
Yeah, there we go. We'll put you on the couch. Now, Seth, tell me about this experience.
Yeah. So one of my famous questions that I love to start and open up with is an interpersonal question from the third person. And that is, who is Jared?
That's really good. A few years ago, I'd have been like, that's a dumb question. I don't deal with emotions, Seth. Who am I? I'm really passionate. I love to make an impact. So when people ask me about different business ventures, like what's the metric of success? I know you have to make money to do something. So that's not really my metric to make more money. There aren't like dangling toys and things in the world that I'm like, I need to make more money so I can buy that. For me, it is probably the most tangible in the last decade, I could say, is when someone writes me a letter of how something I did impacted their life. I'm on cloud 9. So yeah, who am I? What am I about? I'm passionate about us doing things that we love, those things actually making people's lives better. I'm a huge fan of the idea of your profession has to match your practice, that just saying words and doing things has to actually equate to how your life is lived. So I've done a lot of things. Maybe we'll get into some of those things, but I've ultimately, I'm a fan of beautiful relationships, happy marriages, great parenting experiences. And when when you can work with your friends, as we have had the privilege to do, and remain friends, that's at the top of my list of fun. So yeah, I love to work hard, have fun, and enjoy amazing relationships.
Very well said. Talk to me a little bit, because like you were saying, you are passionate, and I know that to be true. Obviously, you're a very driven individual. Get very excited about new ideas and making things happen and bringing together teams to make those things happen. For you, when was the first moment you realized, from like a self-awareness perspective and growing up, that like, oh, I'm a pretty driven person. Like I want to go get this thing, or I want to do these things.
Yeah, probably the story is, I think I wanted some, I think they were called studio baseball cards. I wanted like a box of them. So I was into the whole baseball card trading scene and all that when I was a kid. But I remember the day that I went to my parents, and it was interesting. I had the joy and privilege to be raised in a house where my parents started with what I would today call poor. And I literally watched them grow in their wealth, in relationships and money through life. So, and I just feel like that was such a lesson. And I think you'll find some people who grew up with wealth actually are very selfish. And some people who grew up with no wealth, had no wealth, have no idea how to handle money. So it's just fascinating what you'd not expect in some of those scenarios. But it was probably at a young age, there was these baseball cards I wanted, this box of cards. And I was like, I asked my parents, like, how do you get these? Like, how do I buy these? Or do you guys buy these for me? Like I was just foreign to how you get things. And they were like, well, you have to work. You have to sell things. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And I think like a day later, I'm at the bottom of or the entrance to our driveway on a pretty busy road, and I'm selling all my toys.
Literally all of them.
And my mom comes out there, what are you doing? And I'd like sold something she really was happy she'd bought me. And I was like, I mean, I'm selling things so I can buy baseball cards.
Just really quick, how did you price these items?
Probably, how much do I need to buy the baseball cards? Let me liquidate these bad boys until I got $50.
Yeah, that's fun.
So no rhyme or reason. I bet some of the toys I sold were more than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that was the thing. It like just gave me this taste. But I need to probably give you the other real story. So that was when I was like probably, I don't know, 8 years old.
Yeah.
Where I was ruined in life was when my dad, just a hustler, no education. I've since learned some childhood trauma, drug use, living homeless, like all the ingredients. You know, they say great love, great knowledge, or great pain are what fuel people. Mm-hmm. And most of the successful men in the world I know, they are fueled by great pain. And now I can see with my dad, whew, there was some pain. He was a fuel-driven person. So he was always into the next thing. What's the next thing we're going to do? I still have some of that drug, I think, watching and living around him. And so it was the Olympics in 1996. So I think I would have been like 13. Mm-hmm. And he's like, we're going to have the store and we're going to sell water and trinkets and whatever. And it was like a rim shop. So we literally are renting and staying downtown Atlanta in this rim shop. I remember somebody throws a rock through the glass one night. And so it was a 2-level store. All these guys come up from downstairs and they're pulling guns out of air conditioning units and above doors. And we're just like, where are we? It was awesome. It was such a liberating experience. But one day we're realizing we are not selling stuff. And it was kind of a bummer because the parade routes and like the streets they closed closed streets we weren't near and they opened ones we were. So my dad's like, oh man, this isn't good. So we start to take stuff up to the main grand central part where everybody's at, all the action. And my buddy gets approached up there by somebody who says, hey, I'm with Parker Brothers and we've made a ton of these Olympic edition Monopoly games and we need to sell them. Yeah. And we were like, oh, that's dumb. Who's buying Monopoly at the Olympics? So he's like, look, you give me $15 or $10, you sell it for whatever you want. So my buddy's like, Olympic edition Monopoly. And somebody hands him like $40 instantly.
That's insane.
And he's like, what's that?
That's insane to me, just thinking, because I don't think I would ever do that, but that people would do that. It's pretty wild.
Oh yeah, totally. And just shut me up if I'm getting boring. But basically, we were like, let's do this. So my dad's like, I'm in on the action. I'll drive around town. I'll go get them from the warehouse where these games are at. I'll supply you guys. So we get our rollerblades, get these massive duffel bags where I can stuff about 10 or 12 picture boxes of Monopoly games. And and we are hustling around town. And so in a matter of 2 weeks, I think I make $4,000 to myself that I happily go blow all of it on a set of custom Big Bertha golf clubs. I'm so happy, and it's the greatest day of my life. And there's a lot of other stories there, but that ruined me, man. Then we were doing events all the time. It was like, if we can make enough money to have fun, pay for our trip. And yeah, I am living for the adventure. So I think I've done some businesses to my downfall where they're just curiosity driven. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I wonder if this would be fun. Let's spend some money and have fun in doing this. So yeah, that is the story that turned the course of my life.
Yeah, when you started recognizing it in yourself. So something else you said too, kind of the earlier start of this question was, you know, there were 3 things that fuel a person: great love, great pain, or what was the other?
A great knowledge, and it can fuel them to change. Yeah.
Yeah. So you obviously, I would assume it was a mixture of great knowledge and love, but then you do have some pain as well, which I think we will touch on. But as you have kind of found yourself in a different predicament and situation than your dad was in, and I would consider you a successful man. Now that you have your own child, Ava, and she will have a different perspective and opportunity to experience life from your hand of actions and your wife's as well, and obviously the close family and friends. How has that influenced the way, especially now that she's getting a little bit older and getting that age of reason where she starts mulling around some of these ideas, how has that adjusted or changed the way that you operate around her and the lessons you're trying to teach her, and as it relates to just life and working and relationships, all those things?
Oh man, that's a good question. I recently heard something. We face our demons or they will raise our children.
Ooh.
And I would say that if I was going to get a tattoo, that might be something I would tattoo on my arm, because I think it is so true. So many of us and so many people, like, they're repeating the cycle. So as I can objectively say now, like, I don't think my dad had a glorious parenting experience. And I look at him like, I think he did pretty good with me, but there were some things where, you know, I think he could do better. So I think if we're always building on and learning, Seth, like, we can do better. So with me, you know, we've chosen a different form of discipline. Like, boy, I got the belt, and I can tell you I deserved it. We've gone a different path with Ava. Now, I may tell you on the podcast in 10 years that I'm visiting Ava on the weekends in jail, but I found that her level of punishment is that it gets to a point where she changes her behavior, whether it's taking things from her or sitting in silence. Like, you know, maybe that's weak, but boy, if it works, I'm convinced it's a good strategy. So yeah, I think just learning from some of the methods and ways I was raised and how I deal with Ava, teaching her that anything is possible. I mean, I would definitely say that was a lesson my dad was obsessed with. You can do anything. And his joke was always, if you want to be a doctor, there's 2 routes. One, you can go to medical school for all those years, or Jared, just start a business and hire doctors. Same impact in the world. So yeah, I feel like, you know, I've been reading books. There's one, this one. You can see this. It didn't start with you. There we go.
DNA there. Yeah,
basically it kind of builds on that idea, even from some of like Torah scripture, this idea under the 3rd and 4th generation. This totally secular author gives a nod to that in our grandmother's womb, there are incidents that are affecting our children. And so that's giving me really big perspective, because there's some things with Ava, I'm just like, man, I didn't teach her this. I don't know where this is coming from. Like, and I always believed with parenting and having a child, like they would be the blend of 2 parties. And I'm just quickly learning, like, man, there's things I cannot explain here. One is Ava is obsessed with you telling her what she cannot do to prove you wrong. Dad, I bet you don't think I can do the splits. Watch this. Boom. Bet you don't think I can. And I'm like, I actually think you can do that. No, say you don't think I can. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I do believe in you. You can do whatever you want. No, Dad, say I can't. Tell me I can. I'm going to prove you wrong. I don't know where that comes from. Like, that's that old high school basketball coach type personality. It's like, you suck, you know?
Yeah. Well, did someone tell you that, or did you have a belief that people thought you could not do things, and so you wanted to prove them wrong as you were growing up?
Honestly, I don't think so. Like, I was probably so brainwashed into thinking I could do anything that it's so foreign to me with
Yeah.
Ava.
So it could be your dad's
And
gene. You never
it
know.
could, yeah, it could have been my dad's, because I do think a lot of people told him, you'll never amount to anything. You don't have a college degree. So he was all about proving people wrong. I just joked with somebody, Seth, about the odds of me becoming a billionaire are so low because my dad loved me. And I find the most common ingredient is to not feel you had the love from your father like you wanted.
Yeah.
That's the pain to fuel billionaires.
Yeah. But then how empty do they feel at the end? Like, I don't know if I've ever met like a very, what I would consider ultra wealthy, let's say more than 100 million in net worth, where they have just like, oh, I'm here. I'm okay. I'm at peace. Like, it's a very rare thing. I don't know if I've truly ever met that person.
Yeah, that's fair. I can definitely see money is stressful. More money, more problems, man. That's a gospel fact.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Well, first I'll kind of comment actually to what you were saying, because I've mentioned on the podcast now, like my wife is pregnant and I just came back from this maternity appointment, and you know, I can notice myself changing in a lot of different ways that I'm not very comfortable with. One of them, so for example, this weekend went hiking with some friends, and they have 3 boys, and they are like 6, 8, and 11. So they're just like, competition is everything, being crazy. And we're walking up this river that, because of the area that we live in, when it rains during the winter or whatever, like these valleys and tributaries really fill up. But then as it gets into the summertime, like they just become very slow trickling streams, and there's a lot of mud like right down where the lake is. Anyway, these boys are like running through this mud, and it's getting deeper and deeper. And I'm like, if you sink in that, like, I'm like, they're going to die. And their dad's pretty chill. And I'm like, I find myself like stressing out, or watching like a 2-year-old walk too close to a curb. And
Mhm.
I consider myself a pretty high risk tolerant type of a person. But now it's like starting to change. And as my wife's growing this thing inside of her, and I'm thinking about not just, oh, what she eats, what she does, but like the conversations we're having, and well, what are our principal beliefs, and are we eye to eye on these things? And like, how is that going to affect my children? For me being an endurance athlete, how has that affected the genes that they will be inheriting? And yeah, there's just so many levels to what you're saying that it's become quite overwhelming in the best way possible, I think, since becoming pregnant. And yeah, it's wild. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Well, Seth, I would say a couple of things I learned that I feel like Annette and I benefited from was the the mental state of the mom in pregnancy is so important.
Mm,
So all you can do to just make Ashley feel comfortable and joyful and happy, like I'm very convinced those emotions are translating to the kid
isn't
in
that
a
crazy?
huge way.
Yeah.
Another thing is they talk about some of the happiness of kids is very much related to how much affection, especially with little girls, how much affection they receive from their father, and how like peaceful their mom is. So like the more you can do to make Ashley feel just joyful and happy, it definitely translates to your kids. It's
Mm,
funny though, because I wouldn't say my mom and dad were very affectionate growing up. Like they hugged each other, kissed each other. We thought it was gross, and hugged us. And so it's like we got sufficient, but like pouring it on and like, okay, that it was not there. Um, but I've gone the other way with Ava. Like I tell her, like, I cannot start my day. I need affection energy. Like I need hugs from you. And she's so anti affection. It's hilarious. It is hilarious. I'm like smothering her in kisses. She's like, Dad, this is gross.
no, I
So
love it.
whatever man finds her at 30 years old when she gets married, um, we'll see if they can keep up with the affection
Yeah.
level that I've built up in her.
Yeah. Yeah. You think she'll change? Like when she gets older, like she'll be seeking that a lot more?
I don't know, but she's sure going to have a high bar for somebody to meet.
Yeah. No kidding.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this question. And I don't know the answer to this truthfully, like all the way down to the core in every situation. And you may not either. So it can be kind of a difficult question. But on the topic of the mother at peace, um, if there was like a principal difference that you had, let's say with your wife, Annette, and she's pregnant, and you saw that, like, well, I've sought counsel. I've really found that like this principal thing that she's standing on is wrong. And when I disagree with her, it like visibly shows in her demeanor. Do you in that moment think that it is better, or what would you do in that moment? Like, do you think it's better to stand on the hill and die, or to simply say, hey, this is what I believe, but we're going to work through this, or to compromise?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I definitely think there's times where it's important where you share, like, especially because, you've co-joined and created this baby.
Hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, pick something extreme like diet soda or something random. It's like, oh, this is my jam. And you're like, oh, but aspartame does this to baby development. Here's all the research. I
Yeah.
mean, at some point, it's like, it's her body. You can do all you can to encourage her. But, adding stress to it, the aspartame isn't as harmful as the cortisol that you would induce by arguing with her. So do your best to love her and win her confidence. And if there's bigger issues, like share with her. But I probably wouldn't take it to the point of like, this is the hill I'm going to die on, because it's like, you're not going to win that battle.
Yeah, for
It's the
sure.
baby's inside her belly, not yours.
Yeah. Yeah. One of these principles that I've been thinking about lately in terms of, I guess, conflict resolution, or it may not even be necessarily a conflict resolution, but the ability to offload emotions, like negative emotions, when in like a perfect world, Jared, if you and if we have a real big issue, I come to you, I can tell you those things, full stop. You will come at it from a spirit of love and forgiveness. And then that changes my heart to then, how I like relate to you. And we kind of go back and forth in this exchange of, well, here's how I feel. Well, I forgive you, and back and forth. Being able to do that, because like most people know from listening to this, like I'm a pretty religious guy. Being able to like truthfully do that with God has been a relatively new experience. At first, it actually took someone sitting in the chair, like you almost acting as a quote unquote priest or something in that moment, to where I can say truthfully how I feel, because I've been amazed with the idea that God spoke the world into existence. And then he gave us that breath, and he gave us those lips to say words. And whatever's going on internally in my heart, um, I have for many years felt like, for example, if I really dislike someone, like there's thoughts that go through my head, like I wish they weren't even alive. And then having those thoughts, but not being willing to like verbalize them and be truthful in my relationship with God, because I'm like, oh, that's so bad. But what I've really come to the understanding and realization to like have that reconciliation and to have that full circle, really what the gospel message is, I feel like, is that I have to be truthful to myself and to God, my creator, what's actually going on, say those things. And then that gives me the delineation from like, okay, well, this is the old self, old creation, the hard stuff. And now when those emotions are aired and God knows what I'm feeling and thinking, now I can go to this place of and ask him to like come in and be like, well, how would your son react in this situation? What do you think about that?
Wow. That's heavy. So I've recently been trying to understand the benefits of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I had someone send me a thing that like, I think like the under 30 generation has the most therapy of any generation, least religion of any generation,
Mm.
and anxiety is not maintaining, it's soaring. So that's just some interesting data. And I'm not saying it's all correlated of what's causing this, but it made me go down the rabbit hole of what is it about therapy that really gives therapeutic benefit? And the most distilled answer I've come to right now is expression. There's something about expressing, particularly pain, that takes it from the amygdala, where it may have just been a horrific childhood experience or something you've been through pain.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about, if you just keep it stored there, it's your pain and it's affecting your body. So, I think stored pain is worse than cigarette smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I'd preach that from the rooftops now. So the fact of you taking it from there, from just emotional raw pain that sometimes you've buried so deep you don't even remember it, to taking it into your prefrontal cortex and then expressing it, I think is healing. I mean, the science shows that's the healing element. Being heard. Being heard. You can do this in writing, journaling, or letter, or verbal expression. So I think that's a huge benefit for people. People need someone they feel safe with. So that's another element to it. Another half of the benefit is that the person you're talking to actually feels safe and trustworthy to share with.
Mm.
This is where I wonder some this is my own opinion, which is somebody's going to say it's pretty ignorant, and that's okay. I think it's possible if somebody's paying a therapist $200 an hour to listen to you for an hour and then ends it with, thank you, Seth. I think they're only getting half the benefit. I think there's a full another half a benefit if I really feel like you care for me, and this isn't just about a monetary transaction. So there's science there too, like the trustworthy audience. All right, so on a little tangent, now I'm going to go to the spiritual side you touched on.
Yeah.
Um,
No rush.
I think a lot of people, they think, well, I just need more prayer. I just need more penance. I just need more indulgence. I just need whatever, study more, read more sacred writings. But if their view of the audience they're talking to and expressing to is worse than just a therapist taking money, it's, I'll use the name God. Oh man, is God having a good day or bad day? Does God even like me? God's schizophrenic. He kills people when he wants. He saves people when he wants. He healed my mother of cancer. He caused my father to die of cancer. Like, you have all these crazy stories. So it's like, I don't know what God does. Did he help the Eagles win the Super Bowl? He's not a Patriots fan this year. I mean, you have sports athletes like, oh, I want to thank God because he helped us win tonight, not you suckers.
Yeah.
So I think that's a whole nother element. I'm actually reading a book right now called The God-Shaped Brain. And I got referred to it from a very secular standpoint about people who are religious and their view of their deity affects the benefit they get from praying and expressing and talking. So it's caused me to pause and be like, wow, what if I have the habit of practice of prayer? It's pretty important that I know who I'm talking to, because otherwise you could be praying, dear angry God, I have messed up again. And it's like, you imagine going into a therapist like that. I messed up again. I mean, just probably increase your anxiety. Prayer is making you more anxious, worse. So I think, anyway, I've kind of gone round and round about some of your points, but I think it's helpful to know if we're into prayer, who are we praying to? How are they relating with us? And can they handle my emotion? Can they handle, and I think, to use some of like Jewish history, you look at David, some of his Psalms are violent.
Take my enemies, rip them to shreds. But God, you love me. I know it.
I know you love me, but boy, do
Like
this thing to Seth, right? So I think that to me is permission for people to share anger with their deity. I'll say one more thing, Seth. I've been, what's the word? I appreciate this idea now that people, their beef may be with God, and they need to deal with it. Just like they would deal with beef with a friend or beef with a parent, especially if they feel that relationship has been abusive. Like, you gotta deal with that. And I think for a lot of people, they don't even know what that means. So for instance, I've been thinking recently about the idea of somebody who says, I am not religious. I'm an atheist, and I just don't even believe any of that stuff. My question is, okay, got it. We're in a room, and out of nowhere, God shows up in the room. Surprise, there is a God. Do you want to have lunch with them or not? And it's interesting, you'll get from some people, hell no. Oh, okay, wait a second. There's tension. There's tension here of something deeper. Maybe it's from somebody that represented this being that it's easier to not believe in or not believe they do much in this world. So, I think it's a healthy discussion to know who we're expressing to, that is safe. And we need friends where we can say, I am mad. My wife just told me about a podcast she listened to about holding an emotion is toxic. That even if you're by yourself, you need to voice it. I'm angry today because I don't like my new bike. I spent $5,500 on this bike. I thought it would reduce my speeds, and it's not. I'm mad, right? Just expressing that, your own brain is like, okay, all right, I'm experiencing emotion, rather than holding it in and you get home and your wife's like, hey, this happened, and you just blow up when it was really your bike's fault, but you didn't express it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's super deep. As you're saying that, I was thinking back on when I was really young, especially in middle school. I think I obviously had a pretty crazy upbringing, childhood that I think some of this stemmed from. But also I was picked on quite a bit just because I was small and, whatever. And I also had a very big personal view of myself, I think. So I always wanted to stand up for myself. Anyway, several times from middle school and maybe even grade school, but I have this one particular instance of remembrance in middle school where there was this kid. He just like out of nowhere on the playground one day just hit me in the stomach, knocked the wind out of me. I felt completely embarrassed, was super upset. I'm pretty sure I even like peed my pants. It was like third or fourth grade, just horrible. Next day or week, some time went by. We had a class. The teacher stepped out. He did something, and I just like stood up to him and was like, "You can't do that." And we got into a physical altercation of which I like picked up a desk, threw it at the guy, missed him, was out of control, swinging, never really even landed a punch that mattered. That whole thing went down, but it was the release of all those emotions that I had toward this very specific individual. A police officer comes, takes us out. I'm thinking I'm going to jail. And, in all actuality, it was like he was just trying to break up these two little kids from fighting. Mom comes and gets me. I go home. I'm suspended for like 2 or 3 days. I go back to school, and this kid's in my class again, and he's sitting like right next to me in this row. And I wrote him a note, and I said, "Hey, can we be friends now?" And he wrote me back. I'm getting emotional even telling this story, but he wrote me back, and through that expression of emotion and coming to the terms internally, like, well, I probably shouldn't have done that. I don't know. Like, is this guy really a bad guy? What's going on in his life? Some of those questions were posed to me, and offering that letter of like union or bond or whatever it was, and then him giving it back to me, I realized that, and this happened several times other in my life going forward, when I got into like really intense fights with people, we would often become bonded in a way, in like a deep relationship, if a hand was reached across the aisle and then a union was made. And I was like, I think that really, there's a better way to do it. Like you're saying, it's not letting it blow up. But I think from like a very human perspective, that is often case that like Jesus dying on the cross was me blowing up and me wanting to just throw the desk at him and kill him. And then realizing what he did for me, and then he's reaching his hand across the aisle and taking it. I don't know. There's something about the expression of, I really don't like you right now, and I'm so mad at you. And then realizing like, oh, that person's just that person. Like there's something underneath their story, and then being willing to, I don't know. I haven't put all the pieces together, but I think there's something about that like makes a lot of sense and is relatable to that great controversy gospel message of, but it comes from true expression. Like we have to really express what we're thinking and feeling, especially to someone like God who already knows what's going on. If we truly believe in that, like you can't hide it. So why would you not verbalize it?
So that's really interesting. I think that I'm starting to see people that have like relational dynamics that can be tense. It's like they've been storing pain for so long that it like can't help but slip out. Like, everybody, we're going to start the meeting 1 minute late today. You're never on time. You can't get your act together. It's like, whoa, we're talking 60 seconds. And for all we know, like that comes from their childhood. I just read something. I think 80% of who we are comes before the age of 7. Well, it's like, we should be talking about those things. Like, hey, what was home life like? If somebody was yelling at you, whether you know it or not, in your very like amygdala and body structure, you're going to be more sensitive when somebody says, this is not good. Like any type of candid conversation to make something better. Like, hey, this project, this PowerPoint, not good, not a good article, not a good, we would feel less attacked, like it was personal, and just more on, okay, well, what could make it better? So I think releasing that emotional pain, man, wow, that would bring a lot of healing to a lot of people.
Yeah. So going back to the topic of fatherhood a little bit, I want to ask you this question. I hope it's appropriate. But in your eyes, what are the greatest and maybe some of the worst traits you've noticed about yourself that you've noted?
Oh, that's interesting. That probably goes back to that face your demons or they'll raise your children thing. I would say I love that I'm so affectionate with Ava. And it's hilarious that she hates it, but it actually does bother me.
I'm sure it does.
It bothers me because I'm like, I'm trying to help you. Like, if you know how many little girls don't get affection from their dads, like, I'm doing you a favor, sister. You're going to thank me in 20 years.
Yeah.
But man, that's a good question. Like if I was to rank how I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. Like I feel very accomplished as a dad to a 6-year-old. Feel like she's getting a lot of life experience. I don't see her as spoiled. Like I'm trying to teach her the value of things. Like her currency is shaving cream. Like she wants to be paid in shaving cream because she goes in the shower and just makes like cakes full of shaving cream. So like I did something where I needed help and I paid her like $10. I'm like, I'll pay you in 10 shaving cream. She's like, oh my word, Dad, what do you want me to do? And
I'll
she
do
just
anything.
uses them up in the shower. It's just this currency for her.
That's
So
funny.
I mean, I feel like I'm trying to give her principles that matter and to be kind to people. And we've had a lot of adult conversations with her, probably far before fellow peers think it's appropriate,
Mm.
and I'm happy about that. So um I don't know. I probably can't answer the question better than that.
No, I think that's good. And the reason I asked that about the good and worst traits is because I'm going to read you a quote really quick. I'm not going to tell you who it's from until after I read it and maybe you chew through it. But somebody sent this to me the other morning and I've really been struggling with this of like, yeah, I'll just say I'm struggling with it. Let me see if I can find it here really quick. I should have had it already pulled up.
That's okay.
Let me find it.
While you're
Here.
looking, you find it. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I think I found it. So it says, and this is like an excerpt from a paragraph: unless you exercise self control, you will be a most unhappy couple. You each ascribe your unhappy life to faults of the other, but do this no more. Make it a rule never to speak a word of censure to each other. That's the part that really bothers me. Make sure that you never speak a word of censure to each other, but commend and praise wherever you can.
It's good stuff.
Now yeah, what's your gut reaction first before I tell you what I think?
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, because I think we so often default to, you could have done that better. You forgot to do this. Like just these little nags and jabs when it's like, how could you outnumber those with 100 praises and, oh, you look beautiful. Oh, this meal was amazing. Oh, your work is beautiful. Your content's gorgeous. Whatever the things we want to praise and encourage. So yeah, I mean, I would tell you, you are more mature in this area than others. People are pretty naggy in their relationships, trying to think like each other's pottery that they're trying to mold rather than I fell in love with exactly who you are.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it's true. What I'm thinking of is like I'm a very practical. Give me the formula. That way I can adjust it and make a difference. So someone told me this years ago that for every one negative comment or whatever, you need to have 5 positive to almost erase it. And I'd say maybe even closer to 7. When I'm hearing, for me, like the way that I operate, and I think it really comes back to a place of childhood and a place of survival, is I look at a person, I try to ascribe in my own mind a judgment that will either say this person is safe or this person will help lift you up, like, and push you further in life. And I have found a lot of like worldly success, I would say, for many years in finding the faults of systems and people and then wanting to right them. Um, Now, there's appropriate times to find faults. If you're engineering a dam or a bridge, like those are the appropriate times. But when it comes to individual people, especially from a position of leadership, I've really struggled to figure out, well, when is it appropriate? Are quarterly reviews that really just kind of say, oh, yeah, you're doing decent, but here's the list of 20 things we want to see you do better. Like, is that really productive? Does that give that person more focus and help them? Like, does it really? Because I've never felt good after like any type of review like that, ever. And most of the time, I think if people are a decent human being, like they'll know their faults. But there's also this concept of calling out your brother in love. Like, what does that really mean? Like, should I never bring it up? So as long as everything has a foundation with love, I think it works. But I really struggle to have that because it's really easy for me to point out the faults in another because I feel like, well, if I can point it out, then we can right the wrongs, and then 1 + 1 = 2, and we're done. But specifically in a marriage relationship or a close business partnership, I think there's a different way to do it by calling out the good and the encouraging. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, that's interesting. And I'd probably turn it back on you to say, does that come from a place of lack of control in your own life. Some people can control someone else because they lack some discipline in their own life.
Mm.
Some might call it perfectionism. I need this to be exactly the way I think it should be. But I'd probably just say, if you were to step outside of your own body and give Seth some advice, so that everyone would agree, I think it's healthy to praise and give some critique to yourself. So I think it's good to recite, what is it I do well and I'm proud of myself for? Say it, write it, let it be known, tell your friends.
Mm.
And then, what are some things I think I could do better? I think if that's your focus, and I think having people in your life that you look up to for things you'd like to do better in, I think that's a lot of things. I had a young guy recently, probably 25, say, I don't take advice from anyone I don't respect.
Mm.
And I'm like, whoa, man.
That can be
So
dangerous.
so here's what I know about that. He ain't taking advice from a lot of people.
Mm.
So surrounding yourself with people who are like, I respect that and I'm willing to take some advice, and being so bold to ask, I need some feedback. What are my blind spots? What do you think I could do better? And just be willing to take it, not as harsh criticism, but if they didn't tell me, I'd go through life as a 7 rather than a 10.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. That made me think of like the current state of society and how we view individuals because our society loves to build somebody up and then just knock him at the knees and like, you did nothing. No one will remember you. For a great example, Martin Luther King obviously had a lot of heart for the equality of man, making sure like to lead from a place of conviction and kindness and not soft spoken, but like walking softly. We know what he stood for. But at the same time, like infidelity was a huge thing for him. Cheating on his wife, like you can go and read about all this stuff, but I've now chosen not to ever just completely throw somebody away on the advice that they give, because honestly, some of how I would have considered my greatest enemies, there were nuggets of wisdom in the things that they'd said or the things that they'd done, that I can take away. And that's really hard for, I think, most humans to deal with, because from a very young age, like we look at our parents and we do have this inner belief that, well, even though I don't want to listen to my mom and dad, they know everything. They know everything. And then we get to that age of reason, we're like, they know nothing. So we get like, we're back on this,
I know everything.
We swing on that pendulum forever. But to be able to say, I don't know, I think of like, honestly, I don't know what yin and yang stands for, but like there's this concept throughout every religion of like this dark side, light side. The real rubber meets the road when a person, I think, can reach the enlightenment of knowing where that is, that disconnect, that separation is. Yeah.
And I think leaving space for people to grow and not thinking, well, they must have arrived, they make no mistake. Because if we do that with others, we'll do that for ourselves. And then it's just a miserable existence.
Yeah. How happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Let's see. Sometimes I could answer that in the longer scope or the immediate scope. I'm dealing with some pretty big stress in my life right now on some different fronts. And, but overall, I do believe those things will work themselves out. So I put myself at like a 9.
Okay. I'm pretty stressed, but my life is perfect. 9 out of 10 is pretty good.
I think so. Yeah. I don't.
Calm in the storm is pretty huge.
Yeah, I think so. I would say I got a 9. Like happiness, sometimes I look at happiness as a little more fleeting than like joy. Like, yeah, it's a joyful season of life. Like Annette and I have never been better. It's a joy to raise Ava. It's the best season of life. My health is the best it's ever been. So for those things, it's like those are all that I need. Those are 10s.
Yeah.
The rest is just ingredients on really my stress in life is I'm not making as big of an impact in people's lives as I want. So that's what frustrates me.
You want to make a bigger impact. That's fair. How will you know when you get there? What will that look like? Do you think that you'll ever reach that place where you feel like you're making enough impact?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if my days were full and I didn't feel like I had more capacity, I could feel that. But right now I feel like I have more capacity. So it's like and by the way, in the past, that capacity would have gone past taking care of myself. But now I think taking care of myself is a priority, where, there would be a time in the past, if you'd have said the word self-care, I'd have been like, you wimp, or, or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, a good night's sleep is important. Working till midnight, I mean, there's need and seasons for that, but to wear it as a badge of honor for a decade, like, you're just shortening your life.
Yeah.
So sure, if your life's not worth living long, but right now I think I got more capacity and potential. And if there's any angst in life, my negative critical inner voice is, you're wasting your time. So to be using my capacity on something that doesn't grow or scale, like when a business venture doesn't go the way I want, or I get bored with it, oh my word, I lose my mind, Seth.
Yeah. So with that in mind, that context laid, if I was to, so I'm really fascinated and I love getting blood work done, or like blood panels. So my wife's got some done for maternity. I've got some done in the past, and I love looking at the different numbers and really digging in, like, what do these mean? What I would love to do is like a brain panel to see, well, what if maybe if they were emotions, like, in those emotions, and you could like put on a scale of, where they're at. Oh, well, your joy is a little low, your happiness is a little low, or your anger is way high off the charts.
I love this.
Yeah. If you could do that, and you could kind of write those out. I guess you said like happiness is a 9, so maybe this already answers the question, but what are the top 3 emotions that you think in the past month you would see on that graph as like, oh, these are a little above, maybe some of these are a little low? What would your brain panel say?
Oh man, this is the most beautiful. I'm also obsessed with blood markers. Recently tried this one, Rhythm. You seen this one? They send it to your house.
All of my endurance dudes are on pushing that product all day. I haven't done it yet, but I'm probably going too soon.
I just did it. And I'm like, at first it was a little overwhelming. Like, oh man, what do I do here? But then once I got it now, like I could do it every month. Oh my word. Boop. Hook me up. Yeah. And I've been doing
Take my blood.
Function Health, which is more comprehensive, which I'm obsessed with. So yeah, man, I love blood work. I love like real data. And I'm a huge fan of like, whatever we're doing, let's measure something so that we can actually determine if anything we're doing makes a difference. So your question about the brain panel, which you should like trademark because you're a genius. This is your idea. What are my top 3? Like I've experienced more anger recently than I would say in a while. And maybe anger and heartache for my niece and nephew, not anger at them, just the circumstances of their baby daddy running off with the babysitter. That's just hard when men don't have their priorities in order and it's their fault. I'm personally a pretty much 98% believer relationships they're made or broken by men. And I've got some books and some even sacred writing I think I could share on that. Men make or break. So yeah, I think anger would be up there higher than it's been in a while. I think I am pretty content and happy. Like I don't want to take that for granted because I've been in seasons where I've been very sick. When I went to India and I got, parasite and almost died. Like, you don't have your health. Like, man, you don't have a lot. Yeah. You're just thinking about yourself and, my pain, So yeah, I mean, happiness. Yeah, I do feel like happiness and contentment are pretty high up there. But anger has probably been higher than it should have. Although I'm happy to say my blood work's getting better every time I check it. For like cortisol and things like that. Inflammation markers are going in the right direction. I've definitely been hitting the gym harder and trying to do more breath work stuff, things like that. But I'd have to give that more thought. I think your question is brilliant. A brain panel, like I want to create an assessment that actually measures.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if there's a way you could do that. I mean, obviously, but it's so hard, like sitting down with someone to take those things because it's. The brain chemistry, I really believe, the brain chemistry of the person sitting across from you, if you're doing an assessment, is heavily dependent on your reaction or action towards them. I wish we could see the chemicals flying through the air because, for example, growing up, I love my mother, and we've had this conversation since, but for the longest time, whenever I would try to tell her about something bad, she would immediately go into this position of like talking way too much, and then she would kind of try to jump on the problem before she even knew what it totally existed, and it would compress them down. So like to be able to take a brain panel of someone, I don't even know. I mean, I guess you could do it with some scans, but I don't even know if you can sit down and take a scan of someone's brain and like see, oh, there's the love section, there's the anger section. I mean, there's areas, but we know and this is kind of crazy too, but like I've seen people who've had pieces of their brain like actually had to be removed, but they still function relatively well. But there's some things that are a little off, and you're like, where does that come from? So I don't know
Yeah.
how you would assess that, like truly assess.
Yeah, I think there's ways you could do it. You could compare it against studies of something we know everybody gets angry with, and is your anger center firing in the brain. But I think in this subject, like I think it's okay to ask, what's your level of happiness, 1 to 10, and to maybe break it down slower with with your romantic partner, 1 to 10, and then whatever protocols and things you're going to do in the weeks or months following, do the same thing again. And to me, all that really matters is what's your number now. If you're like, I don't know, it's still the same. Okay. Or, oh man, it's better. Here's why. Like, if it's better or worse. We
Yeah.
should be asking people these things.
You know why I like that actually? So from the endurance world, there's a debate that goes on like, oh, you should train based on these hard metrics like power numbers, heart rate, whatever. But there's also been a lot of studies to say that people who train off of RPE or rate of perceived exertion is often within just like I want to say it's something like 2% of what you would be ideally training for. So like our ability to temperature gauge ourselves and where we sit on certain emotions, I wouldn't say is far off. So I bet there's some studies that could, if they haven't already proved that. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah. Where really, the answer. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want more of in your life?
Yeah.
I don't have to be a therapist or a counselor or coach to tell you, Seth, here's what you want more of in your life. Like, it's that idea of deep down, like some of us know what we're missing. We know where the pain's coming from. And if somebody would actually hold space and just talk to us, you give me an hour and oh man, Seth, so many people don't have that. Like, and I would imagine in this community you've built, like people being fueled by pain and trying to increase all the right biomarkers and metrics, but haven't sat down long enough to like just say, I am angry. I am, whatever I am sad. I am, whatever the thing may be. It's like, I literally believe you're holding your times back. You're holding your best self back by not finding a safe place to say, here's emotions that are slowing me down. I mean, I feel like I'm seeing this in my own life in some areas with my, where is it? Whoop. I've expressed more in the last year. I can't say I'm doing a lot of different training or anything crazy different. And like my HRV is going up. My VO2 max is going up. My resting heart rate is going down. I think I'm around 47 now.
Let's go.
Like, I feel like, I don't know if it's physical stuff. It's psychological, which, do you have that conversation a lot with your guests? Like on the psychological level, what are you doing to basically improve your performance?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily with that direct question, but one question I often ask to kind of gauge where they are before I dive deeper into that. And it really is so interesting because it's dependent upon age, but I'll ask,
We're younger and more open to talk about it than older.
no, older. Well, yeah, it's like ages 28 to and plus. Like usually I can ask this question I'm about to phrase for you it's because the endurance world, the longevity of a career starts, depending on your skill, talent, whatever, like 13, 15, and then you're gone to the very tippy end is like 40. But most it's like, I'm thinking about retiring 35.
Okay.
So when they come to that point, for a lot of people, especially those who are of the highest caliber, their identity has become solely very much wrapped up in this is who I am. So when their body starts to fail, they have this issue that I had with like business stuff of how to disassociate my identity from the thing and realize that the principal values that instilled and made those physical things possible, I can carry those to the next venture or the next whatever it is. So in asking that question, will allude me to, can I ask the question, well, what do you do to stay sharp? Because some people, they race from a position of anger. And I know people who are really good.
Really?
Like everyone will recognize this name, but Lionel Sanders, like he has been known in the past to really race and push from a position of anger. And other people it's seemingly from what they show is just like more of like, nah, I'm at peace. Whatever happens. And they're like at the top of their game. So it's like, there's different ways you can reach that point. But it's still relatively new for people to be talking about, oh yeah, I see a sports psychologist now. Because what I was going to touch on next, which is a good segue, but is the concept or the power of belief in oneself, belief in I can control only what I like really can control. Um, yeah, like it has the ability to change us on a physiological level. And so with you, what you're talking about, being able to express and believe that I can express these things is huge. Because not to talk too long, but so for those who don't know, Jared and I talked about this in the past. Jared enabled me by sponsoring me to go to this thing called the 3 Day, which is like this weekend retreat. It's been transformative on a number of levels. I'll put a link in the show notes to see if you guys want to go check that out and listen to a past episode where I talked about it. But what really struck me,
Unbelievable.
yeah, we can talk more about that too. But what really struck me was there was this instance I had when I went with this elderly woman, as she had to been in her 70s, and some atrocity was dealt against her. And she, in I think in a different setting, if you would have told her that someone had done this to another person, she would have been like, that is the most horrible thing. But she was at her very core in the belief and understanding that it was her fault that it happened.
Wow.
To where she was asked point blank to basically say like, it's not my fault. And like she could not do it. And you could like see the turmoil in people where they want to say this, but they have this belief, which just goes to show how powerful brainwashing can be, and power of influence and suggestion and propaganda. And it took her, and I don't think actually she ever let that piece go, and like was able to say like, I did not do this to myself type of a situation. So like the power of belief can literally hold you back physically, and I know it can hold you back emotionally, and all those things are connected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Oh man. Yeah, you're preaching. That book, was it AJ Brown in the Super Bowl was reading Jim Murphy's, I think it's Jim Murphy, Inner Excellence.
I haven't heard of it.
It's basically this book about the difference between, this is very applicable in your world, the difference between the
the top
elite
percenters, yeah,
and the best is that belief of I can do this.
It unlocks a different gear, man. Like, so for example, this is a small, silly example, but it's the first time I really experienced it. I was doing hill repeats with one of my friends who was very much a better runner than me at the time. And it was like these half-mile repeats uphill. And he ran a much faster marathon time than I could, probably still could. We were doing these repeats, and we were like neck and neck, and it was like a VO2 session. So it's neuromuscular at this point. And I got to the point where I just decided like, I'm going to beat him no matter what. And my breathing slowed. Okay. When my heart rate's already like 190, and I felt like this neuromuscular, like I could tap into something that I had never felt before. And it's like another gear exposed itself, and like I pulled ahead or whatever. But it's that belief in that you have something more. Because it's been very few times that I felt that I could grab at that once more. That was just a couple of years ago. But I know that these people experience that who are on these. The difference between first and third or first and eighth is like less than a second or less than 100th of a second. It's that belief. Like, I believe I can do it. And you just get that extra. Yeah, it's crazy.
I love that. I think when you write a book, Seth, it should be called The Next Gear. And you talk about this psychological transformation people can have.
Yeah. And then people look at the time like, oh, you're running that fast? Oh, I can do that anytime. Yeah.
Right.
No. Yeah, that would be good. Oh man, so many things. Do you have time to keep going? Do you have another meeting? Sure. Okay.
No, I got some time.
Okay, sweet. What is an experience that you would really like to live over again?
That's interesting. So I lost my dad in a car accident, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. And I had switched from that phase of my dad knows everything when I was a kid to my dad knows nothing. And I remember I would just lay into him. You have so much potential. I don't know why you do this work yourself. You should outsource it. Blah, blah, blah. Stupid stuff. I would just love to go back and shut my stupid mouth and just be like, please teach me, Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Yeah.
That'd be an experience I'd love to relive. I just would savor it more than, I don't know, maybe it's a rite of passage with sons and fathers at different ages, but probably we all start it when we're young, teenage idiots thinking we know everything. But yeah, I'd probably relive that.
Okay. So that's yours. That was like one of the most impactful. So what do you think that the most important thing you've done in your life is?
All right. Let me think about this. Most important thing I've done in my life. Yeah, I think it would be, I made a decision probably 20 years ago that I was going to make a difference in the world more than be obsessed with money. So why do I think that's the most important decision? Because I think if I had, if the, and I think I probably got to the point where money was the most important thing. I don't think I'd be married. I don't think I'd have my beautiful little girl. Probably be in jail just because, when money's everything, like,
You do anything to get it.
yeah, exactly. So I would say, yeah, I feel like I made a point. I'm going to make a difference in the world. And me just having a lot of money is not enough to do it. Now,
Mm,
I have had a greater appreciation today on people with money and influence can have such an impact.
mm,
So I'm obsessed with impacting those people so that collectively we can have a greater impact together, because I definitely see the power of it. But but yeah, that was probably the turning point. And actually it was all, I had sold a business and I went to India and I had this epiphany, like, I'm a greedy person. I got to change my life. Now I went the other direction. All this money I'd made, I like started to frantically give it all away. And I believed business was evil and entrepreneurship was just selfishness. And it took me a while to come back around to realize,
What
oh,
year was that, if you don't mind me just
yeah,
interjecting?
I mean, probably like '07,
Okay.
'08 time.
Okay.
So maybe it helped that the world was falling apart in '08, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, money's fleeting anyway.
Yeah. Might
What's
as
the
well.
point of it all?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting to me because I was placing you when I met you for the first time, coming into my college classroom to teach about this beehive method, and just seeing where you were at that point, and now knowing more about you from the past, and now seeing you in the future. It's so interesting. I wish it was possible to take ourselves, and multiply them, but keep them in that frame of mind from different points of time for every year, and then sit down from ages, let's say, I don't know, when you can first really start to form senses, like 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 50. Like that would be a really good film
Oh man.
if you could pull that off. Like the lessons, or like you take your past selves or future selves into these areas to teach these lessons to see what the eventual outcome would be. But yeah, I don't know how I got
That's a
off it.
good movie, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah, if you could pull that off, you'd have to write a great
Uh-huh.
story. Um, but yeah, it's so cool for me to see that. And then you've done so many things. Like when I think of entrepreneur, I think usually of Jared Thurmon, because you are like self-described. Even in the past, I've heard you say like serial entrepreneur. You've started more things than I care to even count. But the most recent thing that you've really been working on is this One Up newsletter, which I believe it's been what, a year and a half now since you've been doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So tell me what you have learned about yourself in this journey, because it focuses on health. You can tell us what it focuses on. It focuses on
Mhm.
longevity. Yeah. Say
Yeah.
it.
Oh man, I'm passionate about it. And lately somehow I've gotten picked up by a few other newsletters that are recommending like 10, 20 people a day. So now I'm finally starting to see it go, and I haven't started advertising, and now I'm like, I need to pour some fuel on this fire. Uh so yeah, I had a burden. So like my entrepreneurial journey has been very much like an addictive thing. And if I ever could slow down long enough, I'd probably understand more like, where does my addictive behavior come from? Maybe it comes from my dad, maybe grandfather, I don't know. But I definitely have an addictive behavior that I'm grateful has never been filled with substances or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever else you can fill in that. But it has been on entrepreneurial ventures to my downfall. Meaning, when I look at people that have made a lot of money in a venture, I don't say like, oh, I could never do that. I say, I wonder if I'd have stuck with something long enough, if that would be my fate. And would I actually like that? So yeah, I've done things because I'm like, oh, that sounds neat. Let's try that. Let's drop 20 grand into that thing and try it for 6 months, a year, and let's just see what it's like. And sometimes started to make money, and I'm like, this is boring. Shut it down or sell it to somebody else. So I feel like, yeah, I've done a ton of things that I've really appreciated. But one of those things that was on my kind of bucket list of trying is preach, like being a pastor. So I did that at our church for a few years, and it was so fun and so painful. You know, there was the dichotomy of both of those. By the way, one of the things on my bucket list is a stand-up comedy routine. I'm going to do that in the next year or two.
Calling Kill Tony or something crazy.
Yeah. So So to answer your question though, one up, I felt when I stopped pastoring, like I was really getting into the habit of a routine of expression. And I realized after a few months, I missed that. So I was like, man, what could I talk about every week that I'm really passionate about? And I realized like, it's about health and happiness, like the psychological, sometimes the spiritual, but the physical. A lot of people are just not aware of like what leads to better health. And so, yeah, One Up is a newsletter I started where every week I write about something different, try and find the research and the science to back up the idea. And I've tried to only write about things that I personally have tried or experienced. And yeah, I love it. I'm like way more obsessed with it than I should be.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun outlet of expression.
Yeah. And do you feel like, have there been moments in this journey when you have been close to closing it up, shutting the doors and saying, maybe not?
Yeah, it's funny because like at the 1-year anniversary, I wrote a unique edition of the newsletter. Should I continue this or shut it down? Because I'd just gone to a conference where I asked some people one guy just sold his newsletter for like, he had 1 million subscribers and he sold it for like $35 million. And so I'm like, oh, well, he has an opinion I care about. And I asked somebody else, I'm like, hey, I got this newsletter. This is what I'm doing. This is why. What do you think? And they very candidly, oh yeah, that sucks. You should shut it down. I was like, whoa, what brutal honesty. Like, really, it's that bad? And they're like, yeah, it just sounds like everybody else does that. I was like, oh man, all right. So I was kind of reaching out to ask people what they thought. And I got no responses. And I was like, I think I should shut this thing down. Well, ended up like my email client had logged out or something. So that's why I wasn't getting any responses.
Oh my goodness.
Someday I log in and I've got like 45 responses of people like, this is why I like your newsletter, which I just live for the reaction of real response. So then I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. But on that day when I hadn't seen those, I was like, oh man, nobody even reads the newsletter. So yeah, that'd probably be it.
Yeah. So are you, no matter what, like, is this a long-term, I'm going to be doing this for the foreseeable future just until it becomes so big you can't handle it? Or what does the stepping off point look like for you if there is one?
Yeah, I want to keep growing it because I definitely see like every week I write, every week I hear from people where I know, you know, the people who want to get the information actually get it. Versus on social media, like, you know, you could have 100,000 people following you. I think the latest data is 2,000 to 3,000 will actually see your content. It's so unreliable. So it's like creating your own social network that 100% of people get it. So I believe in newsletter. Everyone should have a newsletter. Do you have a newsletter?
You know, it's actually quite embarrassing. At the end of every episode, I ask people to sign up for it. I mean, I have a list that's growing somewhat, but I don't really put time and energy into it. I know I probably should.
All right. We're pausing the regular scheduled programming. I'm going to help Seth with this newsletter. So here's what you need to do. Don't overthink it. You have emails coming in. Every week you should write, hey, everybody, this is Seth. So excited about the latest episode. Screenshot the thumbnail, link to it. And then, you know, I've been thinking, I think the Braves are going to win the World Series. Have a great day. Like some random opinion on something just because people like to hear from you in the Pulse. Ashley's recent visit went great. Baby Seth's going to be amazing. Do you know the gender yet, by the way?
No, she's 13 weeks and she wants to wait to see it on the ultrasound at the 20 week or something.
That's smart. But anyway, don't overthink your newsletter. Right now, it can just be sharing your podcast link or links and some random opinion you have about the week or life. That's it. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I was going to ask you something else before you started reprimanding me, and now where is it?
Well, I was just saying, like, I'm going to keep doing the newsletter. I think it's a viable outlet. And where do I go next? I think Annette and I finally are getting clearer on the unique thing we can offer the world in a podcast, because the podcast is the most effective medium to relay information. I'm sold on that. So I think finally we're going to get back in the swing of that and see what happens next.
Do it, man. I'm excited to hear that because I was listening to the other one when you guys were doing that every so often. But I had this crazy experience that hopefully will be encouraging to you. You've already experienced it in written form, but I have now. It's so cool to me whenever I've started like a small business to see like the really small group of people that for whatever reason, they see something in it where they're like giving you suggestions or they listen to it every single week. They always comment. They always do this. So that's been really neat. But something that hit me kind of between the eyes the other day was I had my cousin in town, and he's into triathlon, and he's been there since like I started the podcast, and I guess he listens to pretty much all of them. And he started to talk to me about how he really appreciated one of the through lines through all of the episodes. And I was like, well, I mean, other than like asking some of the same questions, like I don't really feel like I try to bring out some through line, but it really hit me over the head with this idea and concept that the things that I believe and like do speak about that comes out through questions, and I really do truly, Jared, judge every episode success or failure on my own mark is if I talk over like so many minutes versus the guest talking so many minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't try to like really push
I want to
that.
break you this episode. I'm going to start asking you questions.
Yeah. So, but he noticed some of these through lines with like relational things and like how people are affected by certain things in their childhood. Because I do try to make a point to ask people like, you know, where did you grow up? And if they're open to it, they share a little bit about their upbringing and, you know, who are they more like, their mom or their dad. But it's just really cool to see people pull out these things and these points that I really haven't even took time to think about. Yeah, for me, it's like, I always love hearing about what they think about the concept of God. Are they religious or spiritual? What's the difference between that thing, you know, and all these other questions that are asked. But I was really encouraged by that. So it'll be really neat to see how you guys continue to grow that podcast and you get some of that feedback, because that is super rewarding to hear people find that value and then share the lesson they've learned.
Oh, I agree. And I think what I know about you, you're a person of substance to the point like people of extreme accolades or wealth or whatever influence walk into a room, you would ask them something like, tell me about your favorite birthday as a kid. Like some random substantive thing rather than the next person, can I have your autograph?
Yeah. What's your FTP is the joke. Yeah. Because everybody's obsessed about that in the triathlon community. Like, what's your functional threshold power? How much power can you hold for an hour? Like, it's useless information. It's like useless.
Right.
Yeah.
Or what are we just having a peeing contest? Yeah. That's neat.
Yeah. Well, last couple of questions for you. One I really did want to ask you, because I do ask people if they're religious or spiritual, and I have really picked up that people often don't know what the difference is. And I've been curious to ask now a few people, what is the difference between religion and spirituality? And what would you say that is?
Oh, okay. The difference between religion and spirituality. Spirituality, I think, could be the spiritual disciplines like prayer and, you know, you could go down a list of things not attached to an official religion. So like an official religion is I go to church, I go to temple, I go to the mosque. I believe these tenets of this organized religion, where spirituality, I think, is more the intangibles that may even cross-pollinate between multiple religious communities. That's my gut reaction.
Yeah. No, I like it. So one more question for you. Who is God to you?
Yeah. So for me, God, I think this is the question. So I probably come at it from the Judeo-Christian worldview. Maybe that's just because where I was born in the world. Maybe I'd see it differently if I was born in the Middle East or something. I think that was the question of the whole ancient world, who is God? So for me, the expression of the life of Jesus was the answer. If you really want to know what he's like, I'm going to show you. And if somebody did that just objectively, when I do it objectively, regardless of any beliefs or teaching or laws or commandments, I think it's, here was a man who lived in fellowship with other people, who lived his life to bless other people, who we do not find traces of selfishness in their life, and they were willing to lay down their life both while living and in death to be a greater blessing to other people. So living by principle, no matter the cost. So for me, it's like, man, that's such an aspirational figure. I even wonder, Seth, if somebody just heard that story and it's like, they don't even know if it's religious. Like, could you have the same impact? The sincere question. If you said, hey, there's a story of this guy named XYZ. He lived in the ancient world. He healed people of sickness and disease. And then because of a an agreement that not a lot of people knew about. He laid down his life and was willing to be killed by people. It'd be like, oh, wow. Well, sounds like that's the kind of life I would like to emulate. Yet I think sadly, when you were asking the religious spiritual thing, sadly, it's like, man, religion has been the bearer, especially the Christian religion has been the bearer. I mean, we put crosses on shields and swords as we go to war. So it's like, why would we think, let's pick on the Mohammedan Muslim world, why would we think they would be so favorable to this religion that has literally pillaged their history
under the guise
of Jesus, which is hilarious, where you find none of this, where he literally is condemning the use of a sword in his own life. So anyway, I am up on a loving worldview that sacrifices in all situations and that could be viewed as seen in the life of Jesus. I am down on what I think is the fall of religion and the fall of Christianity. I think we are witnessing the final glorious corruption of organized religion.
Beautifully said. Very beautifully said. So if I was to take away, I think one thing that I really want to hit home from this discussion, it would be the topic of healing through expression, or like you're saying, like you feel like I had to be more expression or more expressive. How practically would you give someone advice to get to a place where what would they do to find an avenue to be like that kind of, to have that kind of process where they can express themselves and maybe get rid of and offload some of that pain or the things that they've been through?
All right, 2 answers. One, you need to send a message to Seth and say, what is this Life App 3-day thing all about?
Deal.
Because I would tell anybody, if you got a weekend that you are literally ready to transform your life and your relationships and everything with no religion.
Yeah, no religion. You
need to go to this thing. One in Georgia, one in Vancouver, Canada. So that would be my first answer to that. My second would be, so many of us are afraid to let those around us know who we really are, to express our pain or trials, sorrow, frustration, whatever. And so we think, I got all these friends. You don't have all these friends. Like, the friends are people you can be like, I'm angry. This is the pain I'm carrying. Like, you can be 100% open and honest, and they will not run away. So I think for many of us, we're faking that we have friends when you may not have one friend. You need to go find a friend. And that may start with being friendly, like testing the waters with someone of, I want to be here for you. And I'm not going to run away. You can't scare me. Unfortunately, people think this is what the religious world and like community and fellowship in the religious world is supposed to offer, but then they find it doesn't offer that. It's actually, if I'm open and honest with you, you're going to weaponize that against me and exclude me from your community. Then it's like, oh my word, religion is dangerous. So I would just say, first believing, expressing pain, sorrow, frustration, joy, whatever emotions are in there, you have to get them out. There's benefit just screaming in a field. There's benefit writing. There's greater benefit. I think the next level, the greater benefit is finding someone you can trust and they're trustworthy to share this and know they're not going to betray you. And then I think a whole nother level is on the spiritual realm. You talked about earlier, like, can I express these to a higher power, to a God that would listen to me? And it's okay if I use colorful language and anger and whatever other emotions I want to use. Can that being or entity handle that? A lot of people don't think they can, that entity can. So, yeah, man, I think finding your place where you can have someone where you can be open and honest with. And for a lot of guys, I don't think that's your wife. That could be a lot of burden. So men need to find some men, women need to find some women. And I think there's beauty about, a man and woman being able to express those things to each other. But guys can be more open and honest sometimes with a guy than they can with the girl in their life. So yeah, expression, finding somebody to express things with.
Awesome. Well, Jared and Drew Thurmon, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and answer my questions. And more importantly, for being a friend for so many years and mentor and brother in so many ways. Really appreciate it.
My privilege. Hey, I have to tell you something though.
Please.
I didn't hear any stupid questions.
I know. You and everyone else says that.
I need something stupid where I'm like, Seth, what kind of question is that?
What have you ever had a red nose hair?
No, but I got some white ones here in the last couple of years. I'm like, and they grow like after I've been in the sun for 8 hours. It's like, what's happening? What
Yeah.
what is going on here?
Yeah.
But no red. I got red in my beard when I grow it longer.
Yeah, it looks good, man. You're really getting the wisdom shades are really coming in. You got the salt and pepper look.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good, man. I'm so proud of you. This is a great product you're making every week.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to Jared for coming on the podcast. It was a cool experience to have somebody who I know from a pretty deep level to just talk through some topics that I know we both find passion in talking about. So make sure to check out the show notes to check out his One Up newsletter, to check out the stuff we talked about, Life app. If you have any questions about that and you really do want to have a transformational experience, I would love to talk to you and see how we could make that happen, whether in Vancouver, Canada, or in where was it again? In Georgia, North Georgia. So great experience there. Make sure to check out the show notes. Thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.